Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lori, otherwise known as the Frugal Mom. And my channel focuses on lots of different things, mostly frugal living, um, all things being mom, all things midlife for us ladies. Oh, let's see, lots of frugal cooking, food pantry blessings, and just living an abundant life on a low income. And, of course, dealing with chronic issues with grace. Chronic health issues, I should say. So, it is the Monday after Easter, Monday, April 6th. And I've just been taking a couple of days to kind of formulate my thoughts about some things that have been on my heart. Because I'm wondering, am I alone in some of the things that I've been thinking? So, some of you know that my ex-boyfriend and I were supposedly just on a break. Well, I haven't heard from him in over 2 months, and I know what he's doing. He's doing some passive-aggressive thing to see who will contact who first, and he'll say, oh, the phone works both ways. But the last time I heard from him, he was going to try to find us a couples counselor, and then I never heard from him again. And he told me he was going to therapy. And then nothing, crickets. So, guys, there comes a point in life where you have to prioritize your own peace. And to be quite honest with you, the best luck that I ever had in my life was with my first husband. Well, my only husband. I haven't been married again. But things happened after we had our daughter. I had some postpartum depression, and he had some anger issues he had to deal with. And even now, we're good friends, but I'm trying to find the right words to say to describe it. We're much different people. So, my kitty's here. So I don't think we would be a good match anymore. Particularly because I know it's hard to be with somebody that has chronic health issues, and he never really believed that there was anything going on with me anyway. He was one of those naysayers who always said that, it's all in your head, etc. So, the last several relationships that I had, and, I dated casually, nothing more than, like meet up for drinks, meet up for a meal, go for a walk sort of thing, not anything physical happened, with quite a number of guys that I would see casually throughout the years. My son's almost 17, so I'd say like past 17 years. I went about 6 years without seeing a soul, and that was fine. I had to focus on my family. And then I had a very strange, like mentally abusive, short-lived relationship that was about 2-3 months in 2016, and that really played with my mind. And then a couple of years after that, I met my ex-fiance, who was about 15 years younger than me. Now, he was a nice guy, but he had a lot of mental issues, and I think his intentions and his heart were in the right place, but unfortunately, I keep moving the camera around, I'm sorry. Anyway, unfortunately, he would use poor judgment to try to be who he thought I needed him to be. And he would set us back 10 steps when we were just starting to get ahead. So, like I said, I don't hold any ill will against him. I just wish that I hadn't wasted the little bit that was left of my youth. Almost 7 years with him. And we didn't end up married, and that's probably a good thing now that everything came to light. And then there was the boyfriend that I was just with. And, well, I'm not going to go into all the things, but I'm just going to say he needed a lot of caregiving, and a lot of guidance. And I kind of felt that for a man of his age, that really shouldn't be the situation. And he waited to show me all of this until we were together over a year. And of course, after my ex-husband, there was my son's father. And, well, that relationship forever changed who I am. He left when I was pregnant with my son, and I won't go into all of those details. But what happened there, it was very, very traumatic for me, and I'll never be the same, regardless of how much therapy is around it. So in just reflecting on my romantic life, I don't know if just my picker is broken, or this is just how most guys are. I just kind of feel like I have spent so much of my life, even when I was a child, just, because my mother, unfortunately, was an alcoholic, and she drank for most of my childhood. Spent most of my life taking care of people. It started with her when she was drinking. She needed some help with things, and I was, we're talking like about 6, 7 years old when all that happened. My father passed away when I was 4, and I was just left alone with her. And I was neglected quite a bit, and so, I did have to grow up a little bit earlier because of that. And then, I'm a very nurturing person, so it is in my nature to take care of the people that I care about. But when you've been doing it your whole life, it gets exhausting, and it just kind of sucks the soul out of you, especially when you have nobody pouring back into you. My first husband, he was so sweet, but we were very, very young. Like I was saying, some things happened. We were together for a long time. We got married when we were 21 and 22, and we waited over 9 years to even try to have my daughter, and then we encountered some fertility issues, and after 3 years, I gave birth to her, which was the greatest joy in the world. I never thought I'd be a mom. So, he came from a background where he was the youngest child, and his mother really doted on him. She spoiled him. She catered to his every need, anything that he wanted. She would pay some of his bills, just things like that. And he went right from that, he never lived on his own, into marriage with me. And I was so in love with him and so happy to have somebody so accepting of me, because that's another thing. I don't want to get too far into it, but when you grow up with any sort of, dysfunction in your childhood, being a child of an alcoholic, etc., you're just so happy that somebody loves you and you're being accepted, and I was part of his wonderful family and whatnot, but I really did take care of most of his needs. I'm very domestic by nature, and I just went right into that role, which is great. And he did do some things to take care of me in turn. He was a very good provider. But, just let's just say it was the perfect storm. So now at this stage of my life, I'll be 53 in a couple of weeks, and I've been thinking about this for a couple of months. I don't know if I have it in me to, look for someone, or, be found by someone, or have a relationship again. I don't. And it's for a bunch of different reasons. The dating landscape and how people treat each other in general these days, even people who, call themselves your friends and who you may have called friends, it's just so different. People don't answer texts. People don't respond to texts. And it's even worse when it's somebody that you've, invested some time in and some feelings, Um, it's kind of heartbreaking, like, I don't know, like, I was raised to use common courtesy, and if you don't want to be with someone or you don't want to see them again, imagine communication. You can tell them that instead of blowing them off and ghosting them and doing that whole breadcrumb bullshit. I just don't have patience for that, and I just don't want to play any, like, mind games with people, like, and I don't want to have to fit a mold. I'm me, and by this stage in my life, I really know who I am, and I'm comfortable with who I am, and God knows I'm not perfect, and no one is, but this is who I am, you know? I'm a big, beautiful woman, not the biggest chick in the planet, but there are worse things than being chunky. There really are. I'm sorry, my cat's, like, playing with, like, the light across my blanket. That's why, that's why I keep moving the phone. There are worse things than being fat, y'all. So, I'm chunky. If I ever happen to lose weight, that would be great. I really wish that it was that easy, and it's not that I eat terribly unhealthy. I'm not going to go into a whole big thing about my weight, but so I'm a bigger girl, um, it's kind of like that song by India.Arie. I can't remember the name of it, but basically it goes, sometimes I shave my legs and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do my hair and sometimes I don't. Like, it doesn't matter because I'm still a queen. Like, my days of wearing high heels, unless I really have to for, a special occasion, they're over because, guys, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to be, like, all bound down with, like, horribly uncomfortable undergarments either. I want to be comfortable. I've got that cute thing nailed down, the cute, like, soccer mom type. I'm cool with that. I don't, not that I'm, like, saying, like, I'm the most attractive girl, so don't get that wrong. But I know my qualities. I know my good points. I am a jeans and t-shirt girl, sneakers girl, flip-flop girl, boots and sweater girl. I don't want to be all uncomfortable, all bound up in something to fit somebody else's standards. And yes, of course, I like to really girl it up from time to time, but it ain't that often anymore. Sometimes I don't even want to wear makeup because hot flashes and rosacea, you know? And sometimes I just don't really feel well. And you guys know that. I've talked about that before. So, and I don't want to be a nurse. I don't want to be a purse. And I got news for you. If any guy had that idea about me, he would be really disappointed because my purse is not heavy. I have to use humor with it, guys. So, I need to invest in me. I don't know how long God is going to give me on this planet. No one does. But I think when you start to get to your midlife and a little bit past it, you start to really evaluate your life and what's happened in it, your part in it, other people's part in it. The dating scene today, like I said, some of the ridiculous things that people do to each other. I just watched this whole video just out of curiosity of things that you should do if you're going to date. Now, I never misrepresent myself. I have been on dating sites before, and I never posted old pictures or any of that silly nonsense. But, like I said, I don't want to be toyed with, and I don't suffer fools. Like, and I think at this point, a lot of guys would be bothered by how blunt I am. Like, there are certain things that I think by the time you're in your midlife that you shouldn't be told. One of them being, you need to shower, and you need to shower regularly, and you need to shower with soap, and you need to wash your hair with soap, and you need to wear deodorant. You need to wear clean clothes. You need to chew with your mouth closed. These sort of things. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm always clean and I smell good. Things like that, like you shouldn't wear your underwear for 2 or 3 days in a row. Your socks shouldn't be so crunchy after you take them off your feet after 3 days that they stand up straight. Things like that. I don't want to be bothered with all of that. Like I have children. I mean, my daughter, as you guys know, she's 19 and she's very good at all of that stuff. She's got it together. My son, he's got a ways to go. So I already have a teenage boy that I'm trying to instill all of that hygiene stuff on. I shouldn't have to navigate an adult through life because they don't know how to do adulting. And I just feel that, like I said, I need to focus on me, the things that I enjoy. Make this time in my life for me because I've been a caregiver for so long. Now, I love my sister very much, and I don't mind helping her and caring for her. That's different. And, I love my children very much, and that's different. But I don't need any more on my plate. I value peace. I value quiet. I don't want to share the remote. Nope. And once in a while with my son, I might not mind watching like Star Wars or something like that I'm not really interested in. And it's okay for me to say that I'm not really interested in Star Wars or sports for that matter, really. I don't mind going to a sporting event if I'm a spectator and it's live. That's somewhat more interesting than watching it for hours on end on TV. I don't want to watch golf. Nope, don't want to watch golf. I don't want to talk about cars until my head's ready to explode from all that knowledge. I'm trying to think what else. A back rub should be something that I have a gift card for and I go to a place to get, not for it to lead to something that I don't want to be bothered with. And that leads me to another thing. At this age, where, good sex is a challenge when you're in menopause, I have to say that I don't want to have to tell a grown man to slow down and be mindful of the fact that it takes me longer to climb the mountain. I'll just climb the mountain myself. There's ways to do that, ladies, and y'all know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I can't be bothered with that. In fact, I have no patience for that. Like sometimes it's just a matter of incompatibility that way sexually, but more oftentimes than not, it's a man that just is all into himself, is only thinking about his own pleasure, and has no idea what he's doing in bed. So, that's all I'll say about that. Yeah, so I don't have patience for that. Especially if you've got bad hygiene, because nobody wants to smell that. You shouldn't smell like Jersey Mike's. I want to spend time with my kids, my sister, the few friends that I have. My beautiful kitties. That's right, buddy. So this is not to say that I don't believe in love. I do. And if you're someone that's in a committed long-term relationship and you've been with that person, a long time through thick and thin and all of life's trials and tribulations, I am so happy for you. I'm glad that you've achieved that. That's an awesome thing and you're blessed. So I don't want you to think that I'm just totally down on love because that's not the case at all. My cat's stuck on my sleeve. So with that, I hope that you guys all have a great day and share your thoughts with me. I am sending love to you as always from New Jersey. Please like, share, and subscribe. I can't be the only one my age that thinks like this, who happens to be single, divorced, So I'm just trying to read the temperature in the room. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.